Hello everyone. This video is an introduction to common woodworking terms. So the lesson objective, at the end of this lesson, students should be able to identify and describe common woodworking joints and know basic terms commonly associated with woodworking. Material. So when we're talking about material, we're talking about wood or stock. The material that we use in this class is mostly lumber. Common types of wood for use would include pine, oak, and maple. Um, both terms can be used back and forth interchangeably, so you may hear me refer to something as stock or something as wood, but they both mean the same thing. Making wood work for us. The following are the first wood joints we'll use in our first project. And so milling is a term that we need to become familiar with. Rabbet, dado, counterbore, bevel, miter, machining. So a term used in many trades where you are actively and purposefully cutting material for a desired outcome. In most cases, a profiled or shaped edge that can be for looks, or it can also be used to increase the usefulness and the accuracy of a project. A rabbet joint. Yes, this is spelled correctly. The definition, so it's a recess or a groove cut into the edge of a piece of wood. When viewed in the cross section, a rabbet is two-sided and open to the edge or end of the surface into which it cuts. In the use, it increases the surface area and can be designed to allow a board to rest on the shelf that is correctly cut. So here you can notice that we do have a certain area that is actually, let me get my pen going here. We do have an area here where this section right here is open. And so we've increased it by actually, cutting out that material. And so you can see here that this board is going to rest kind of into that rabbet that's been made. And so we can secure this joint here with either woodworking or screws that go in from this side. A dado. So the definition of a dado is a slot or a trench cut into the surface of a piece of wood. When viewed in the cross section, a dado has three sides. A dado is cross-cut or perpendicular to the grain, and the grain is thus differentiated from a groove which is cut with or parallel to the grain. So you can see here in this picture that we have grain, we have lines going this way, and so that's actually um, the part of the tree where it would like get its nutrients and stuff. So when we look at these lines, that's the grain. So when we're perpendicular to it, we're saying that this cut right here is 90 degrees to the grain. So we have our 90-degree swing, even though this picture is at an angle, this is going to be 90 degrees. And so you can see here that it creates a little seat for the dado to actually rest in. Increased increased surface area and support, and allows greater pressure or weight to be handled by this kind of a joint. So this would be a good joint to use for like stairs or for like a bookcase, for example. A bevel cut. The definition of a bevel cut is a cut at an angle other than 90 degrees along the thickness of the material. So here you can see that the angle that we have here is just on this face right here. It is not on this face. Okay. Use used for visual appeal, but may also be used in applications where increased surface area is needed. So here you can kind of see the differences between what a bevel cut is and what a miter cut is. And so really what we're concerned about is this kind of a cut. We'll talk more about miter cuts later, but it should be something that is in the back of your mind because they are similar, but they are also very different. Machining wood. The next few slides will go over rip cuts, cross cut, square, sand, and drill. A rip cut. The definition, a cut typically made on the table saw where you are cutting with the grain of the wood, usually in an attempt to narrow a piece of stock. So here again, we can see the lines of the wood going in this direction. And so this is the blade that's actually cutting the wood. So it's going in the same direction as the grains of the wood. And so this allows us to change the length, or I'm sorry, the width of a board to a desired measurement. And that's basically what the use is for cutting stock to a needed width. Crosscut. Definition, A cut which runs across the board perpendicular to the grain. So here again, you can see that in this picture, the grain is going in this direction, but the blade is cutting in this direction. So we are actually cutting a board so that the length is a little bit smaller. So that's the use, used to cut a board to the correct length. So here's another picture where you can kind of get an idea of the difference between a rip cut and a cross cut is. Square. Definition: machining a piece of stock so that of the board edges are 90 degrees to each other. So this right here is a tool that you will see in class called a combination square. We'll learn more about how to use this tool coming up, but this is what you use. It's this portion right here that you use to get your 90 degrees. Material, or the use. The material that is straight on all of its surfaces allows for more precise building. This also makes a project stronger and look better. So when we have angles that are at a true 90 degrees to one another, um, it will go together a lot easier for us and it'll just look better in the long run. Sanding. The definition: using an abrasive material to remove surface imperfections and create a smoother texture. And so here you can see we can either do it by hand or we can actually use a machine as well. And of course, this is used by either application is using sandpaper. And so we'll talk more about sandpaper and how it actually is used. And so the use for it is mostly aesthetics or looks. So we want something to look nice and then also feel nice too as we go to like pick up a piece of furniture or something like that. We don't want to get any slivers or splinters when we're doing that. And lastly, drilling. The definition: creating a hole in solid materials using a drill bit. And so here you can see the drill bit making its way into the wood. And as this spins around, it's clearing out all of these wood chips right here. And so what's left behind is a hole in the wood, and that will be done for very specific applications. Used to allow for other parts to intersect or clear a pathway for fasteners such as screws. And we'll talk more about that here coming up. But this is kind of the general idea when it comes to drilling. Okay, this is it for the video. If you have any questions, as always, be sure to ask.